Tree nuts here.
All right, it's 1:15 and we here to have a quorum of the board.
All right, with that, I think I'll call to order at this point unless anybody else wants to. Can we hear you over there?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Let's get right to it because we've got a few things to discuss. And I think at this point, we'll take a roll call. To see if all members are here, just to let you know, I think, right? All members are here, as noted. So with any other discussion before we get to the meeting?
This is a work session, correct?
Pardon me?
This is a work study session.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
But we have, it's an open public meeting. It's been posted this side.
it is a special meeting.
We are restricted to just the one agenda item for today because that was open.
No, nothing else can be talked about. Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
go ahead.
So, Patrick, I think, do you want to start with just giving us an overview of kind of where we are, how we got here? And Mark, you'd asked me to kind of give some historical as well. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Yeah, so taking a look at CEO compensation over the past few years, we had put together some compensation packages previously. Taking a look at some internal data as well as external data from DOH. Taking a look at that, we wanted to make sure that the board wanted to make sure that it was fair compensation and making sure that it isn't internally inaccurate. And so we went out to Perlmeyer to have a third party review the compensation packages for the CEO. And that purpose was to provide an independent review of that. Perlmeyer and Acumen, they had presented some things to Wisha before, and so Wisha recommended them to us, and so we engaged them towards the end of 2024 to take a look at the CEO compensation as well as the retirement benefits with that.
And just to refresh everyone's mind, back in, I think, May or April, we had a resolution to approve an additional executive compensation benefits. Because I think we were well below, I think it's 7% of, or something, 24% of the.
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it was low compared to other hospital districts and providing for executive and physician retirement compensation.
Yeah, so we did manage to increase it to more of the middle realm, I believe, somewhere.
Not the middle, we increased on the employee side, that did come up to more of the average, but not on the executive or the physician compensation piece. So we did increase to the middle on the salary side of things, but not on the retirement benefit side.
No, we didn't do anything yet.
Right, correct.
What I meant was the other benefits. We went from 24 days to 36 days.
Oh, on the
Paid
PTO,
time.
yes, we did increase PTO benefits. We
Yeah.
did increase the benefit for the vehicle as well as the health and insurance benefits.
So what I'm trying to get at is we did increase it from a low, we were well below, to somewhere a little bit above the average, I believe.
You're referring to the cash comp? Or the
No,
CEO?
No,
I'm saying total benefits and the retirement reserve included in non-cash benefit or in the other benefits package was like 23 or 24% below market. And because what Dave is saying, we increased some benefits like PTO and cell phone, that it should have come up. But I think the gap was so big, the percentage is still pretty different.
That's why we're here today, to look at the pension, and to get some information. Everyone should get some information today from presentation. Do you have any other preliminary comments?
no.
Yeah, I just want to refresh everybody.
Yeah.
Back.
I have the original study that was done in January, 1 year ago, actually, 13 months ago, that we received from Perlmeyer. This is January 2025. I have that.
And then,
So this has been going on for some time.
So the update has.
The count, the size, of the location.
Yes, it takes into everything. Perlmeyer has looked at everything in regards to that.
So is there any other preliminary questions before we get the remainder of the presentation right now?
Well, the board had asked to not have a vendor heavy presentation, so Patrick and I were prepared to
Oh, okay.
speak our points and then we could.
Okay.
Alexander, it sounded like there, once I say a few comments, it sounds like there could be some benefit for you to reviewing the the compensation analysis that you did. So I'll turn that over to you in just a second. So some additional background. When I came to Snoqualmie, I came here to work for 6 months and to help Dr. Whitcott because she was a colleague and a friend, and I knew she was underwater and she needed help. And I agreed to take the job for 6 months at a salary that was far below what I should have been paid because the organization was underpaying the current CEO and didn't have, in my opinion, the tools and an understanding to be able to fairly compensate. And so I understood that it was going to be a journey to get to fair compensation, but I was willing to take it because I knew that she really needed the help. When she told me she was leaving, I was already too far in and cared too much about this community, and I didn't want to just leave and leave you in a situation where you didn't have another CEO. I also thought that the skills that I had working in rural as well as in larger systems like Evergreen Health really could come together and do something amazing here because you take the King County aspect and you put it with the rural and you mix it all up and you have magic. And so I thought that I had a lot of experience and I could really help and I wanted to stay. So, so throughout the years, we've been able to get the base compensation and incentive, or not incentive based comp, but the strategic plan compensation, which I refer to as not a bonus. You asked me about that and I'll talk about that too. And so, but the problem was, as we worked on getting the cash, the compensation up, there was a lot of tension amongst the board members on whether or not the salary analysis that my team were providing were legitimate. Meaning, we use the Department of Health website, and it's like a budget. It's a little bit of an art. It's not exactly science. It's not black and white all the time. There's a lot of different assumptions that you can include or not include. So because of that, we were asked to have a third party review so that the third party would not be Patrick and I, would not be HR. Those are two sources we've used before. Julian HR that uses Milliman data. Patrick uses actual Department of Health data. And so we hired Perlmeyer. Again, nobody I know, nobody I have any connections with. This is a preferred vendor through Wisha. And so we went to Wisha and said, who would you recommend? They said, use Perlmeyer. One of the reasons we hadn't used an outside agency before was due to the cost. It is extremely expensive to have this done. To date, we've spent $20-some thousand.
$28,000 plus today.
On Perlmeyer, and part of that is because of the long process it's taken to get to here. And so they produced the salary survey, and essentially, Alexander can speak to that, but that's how we landed here to get to, we need to get someplace with the retirement benefit. About a year and a half after being here, we identified that retirement was an issue. But Patrick and I and the executive team chose to not increase executive retirement benefits because our staff benefits were so poor. So we purposefully did not do anything with that because we wanted to get to a point where we could have reasonable retirement benefits for our staff. We worked really hard to be able to do that, and we're giving everybody a 4% match, which with no cap, and that's far. I think it was like $1,000 before was the cap.
Yeah, it was a $1,500 cap before.
Yeah.
So now we have for frontline, non-executive, non-contracted staff, we have a really good retirement benefit that's not available elsewhere. So at that time, that my original, that we first saw it come into my contract that said we'll be working on retirement benefits. And then you had a resolution over a year ago, that said we're gonna take the research we got from our and do a retirement benefit. So that's how we got to where we are today. Any questions for me before?
Yeah, my question is that, I know that we got recommendation from Bishop, but I don't think they do recommend because I was told that would be violating the antitrust. So my question is, why did we not take a competitive bid so that to find out, because we don't know what we're paying, what compensation, how they are compensated when you have two third party that's representing us.
Yeah, so
concern of.
So Wisha has what they call through Washington Hospital Services, they have what they call preferred vendors. These vendors have been vetted for their quality and for their performance with other organizations, and they're in good standing with Wisha. That's how I chose them. They're gonna be.
Yeah, my question is the compensation. We don't know how much we're paying them, so we take a competitive bid. That's normally the best practice. Even though I get recommendation, I still would like to, if I'm, probably will still go and get competitive bid as well.
If we put everything out to competitive bid, we would do nothing else around here. So it's some things that are smaller dollar amounts like that, it doesn't require it to go out to bid. It's not something, so we take it based on the industry's experience with them and their reputation. We chose the vendor because of them.
Are they also fiduciary? Are they certified as well? I don't know. I'm trying to get
So
the
Pearl
history, so I don't know about it.
Meyer's scope of work is really executive compensation, and Acumen is separate. They're not the same. They're two separate companies. They are not like, so we hired Pearl Meyer. We became aware of Acumen based on this product that they have in the market that is really, really favorable to the district, and it accomplishes what the board is trying to accomplish without spending a ton.
Do they have any success stories?
Yeah,
Can they share that with us?
Yes, well, the original proposal from Pearl Meyer had a ton of references, so you can check their references, you can see our hospitals that they've worked with. Large and small.
I know there's several names of Acumen. I'm just wondering, has there been a lawsuit? Do they have any lawsuit in the past? Did we take any of that?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll let Ryan speak to that. Ryan, have you had any lawsuits?
We have not.
Thank you.
When we were doing the process in the finance committee, I was skeptical and so was Renee. So they have a criteria and procedure and how they sample the different hospitals, and it didn't matter what 10 or 12, you ended up with about the same results each time. And I believe that you said, wait a minute, why don't you put this hospital in over here? Because that one, the pay is much greater. And they did that and it made like a $5 difference. It didn't make any difference. So I'm convinced that the procedure and criteria and the sampling that they used to be able to come up with these figures was probably pretty accurate and pretty representative of a good projections for what we needed. So,
And I would echo that as being on the finance committee as well, and I've had one-on-one conversations with both Alex and with Ryan, especially with Ryan, with regards to the Acumen solution to the opportunity that we have to improve our benefit package for retirement package for our executives, starting with Renee.
I'm sure they're large, they have a lot of clientele and all that, so conflict of interest could sometimes
Yeah.
rules up. That's, I don't know, that's something,
It doesn't exist.
doing our due diligence work here, so
Yeah.
just trying to do that.
what my bottom line is, I don't think the criteria and the procedure used is basically the same that any of the companies out there that do this. And I was very skeptical. Believe me, I was in the committee and I asked, why don't we do this hospital? And this compensation isn't like half as much. So as some of these others, no matter what you did, it seemed like it was right about the same figures each time. So,
Horizontal, vertical, either way, right?
all I'm saying is there was due diligence when I went through this.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway,
So Alex, would you like to kind of give an overview and presentation of your findings?
Sure, and let me just give a sort of 30,000 foot view to address sort of how we go about our work. What's important when we do our work, especially with the engagement here, is what you wanted to understand is how does our entire package compare to market? And so understanding that, we look at salary, cash compensation, base plus performance-based salary. That's one component. It's usually the largest component of any package is salary and any annual incentive. Then second, we look at all of the benefits and perquisites to understand the level of benefit you're providing and what are you paying to provide those benefits, to understand how the total package, again, compares to the broader market, not only public hospital districts, but nationally. How does your benefits package compare? And then as we drill down a bit deeper, particularly when you talk about designing and implementing a retention plan for a successful CEO, what we want to understand is not just what are the benefits you're providing today, but when you think about a retention plan, what are the projected benefits you're expecting to provide based on years of service, so that the pendulum doesn't swing in the other direction and then you end up funding a benefit that is more competitive than you feel is appropriate. And so we prepared an analysis against all three of those components, looking at both hospitals that you're familiar with as well as broader survey data. And so with that as the backdrop, I will gladly share my screen and begin to share some of the stuff that I know David and Kevin have already seen, as well as Renee, but I think they can sit through it once more. Let me just get to that.
Would you put it to, I was gonna ask actually. So it doesn't want this. Thank you.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Can.
Okay, so this is a high level overview of what I just sort of covered and what we've been discussing. We wanted a comprehensive view of compensation and benefits for the CEO relative to market. We studied base salary and total cash compared to a local regional market and similar organizations from broader published survey data. We looked at all of your employer provided benefits and your projected retirement income based on current service plus 5 additional years of service. What were our findings? Our findings was that base salary was competitive, but total cash was a little bit low compared to market. As we've already said, your basic benefits like life insurance, short-term and long-term disability were low compared to market or non-existent. And some of the benefits that are typical for a president, such as automobile allowance and related expenses, also were not a part of the package. With respect to your projected retirement benefits, they too were very low compared to market and provided the most significant opportunity to enhance what's there today and encourage continued service of Renee to the organization for the coming years. And so, as I said, we looked at this 2 ways. One is a specific regional peer group, and one was broader survey data. So these are the institutions that we looked at locally or regionally. And I'm sure you're familiar with many, if not all, of these organizations. What's important to understand is how you fit into this mix. If you were the largest health system in this peer group, and you're targeting a salary at the 50th to 75th percentiles, those numbers may be low because there tends to be a high correlation between size and compensation. The larger the health system, the more members of the C-suite tend to get paid. If you were the smallest organization in this group and you were targeting that 50th to 75th percentile range, which is competitive, you may be overstating what you want to pay if all of the organizations are larger than you. So here, you're roughly in the middle of the group. When you look at all of that market data, and as Kevin said, this is about a year old, what you see is the peer group data as well as the survey data. And it's very common today for organizations to look at both and create what I would refer to as a composite or a market consensus. because you live locally and regionally, but you recruit regionally and nationally. So it's important for you to understand both sets of numbers as well as how they aggregate to create a single market perspective. This speaks to the point that David was making, where the salary is competitive with base salary, but there was some adjustment to bring the package more competitively into that 50th to 75th percentile range. And you ultimately adjusted the salary and the incentive opportunity so that collectively you were closer to that 75th percentile, but not quite there. So here we're showing a component of salary and total cash that is now within a competitive range.
Sorry, there's a question. We'll wait. Alex.
Okay.
Is there a
No
question?
I think we're good.
Okay.
My question was, where are we currently? And Patrick
58.9 is
was
where we
able
are
to give me that
currently.
answer.
That's what I
Yes.
was, yeah, because I'm looking at we're pretty low. We're the lowest compared to the rest of the other in here.
No,
No.
we're right.
We're right in the middle. What I'm saying, the increases,
Patient revenue.
yeah, and patient and total revenue.
Base compensation is 413, I believe, this year.
I know that was my question. When was this taken?
For the rest of the year.
For 2026, it'll be 463,
463.
plus the,
For the salary.
20%.
Yes. And
plus
then,
those other benefits.
and then the net revenue for 2025 so far, it's preliminary, is almost 59 million. It's 58.9 million dollars that we
I
have.
thought we would have been at the end of 2025 on 100 million. That's my recollection.
We have 100 million in gross revenue, 114 million in gross revenue.
But net is 59.
Net is 59 million.
That's always been what between, since I can, 10 years ago, it was.
No, 10 years ago, 30 million.
52, and then.
How much
55.
total in other executive benefits is it within for 2026?
There was nothing.
For additional executive benefit?
Yeah, PTO and all that. What?
No, it's the same as 2025.
Okay, which
Yeah.
is,
Which is, I'd have to look up at the
it'd
top
be
of my
more
head.
because.
Day,
Yeah.
250 hours of PTO. So,
Same as it was last year.
yeah.
But it'll be increased because your pay will be increased.
No, it doesn't increase with pay. PTO just stays, it's just hours. It's the days that you're off for PTO.
I have here my
It's a
calculation of what I think we had. 2021, 2020, the first starting salary was 265,000 because that's what we were paying Mr. Tom Parker. Okay, so it wasn't really low.
I
That's
don't
what
even
we
think it
were
was
paying.
that much.
Then
I
Exhibit
think it was
A
like
and C.
240.
Exhibit A and, yeah, it was 240, so exhibit A and C was the bonus, but I didn't calculate that. So in 2021, I don't see no contract, but I look at the resolution, it says we did have a contract. And that without the salary would be there, so it's 320 from 265 to 320 plus, that's base pay plus bonus. 2022.
Emma, everybody on the board received copies of my contract and the resolution.
Yeah, but we are looking at the salary to make sure that we are all in sync with it.
So-
And then my question is, in 2024 and 2023, 2024, salary was 350. And 2024, when there was no contract yet in 2024, it was already authorized to have 392. And then it changed again to 420 in 2024. Correct, right? 220, so, and then, and that's for the 2023. And then 2025 was, but that was also, now we are on 463 plus base pay, correct?
Correct.
Just want to make sure that we are all in line with.
These numbers up here might be on.
Okay, maybe we can move on with the presentation. Okay, let's move on with the presentation.
Yeah,
Emma.
just
Okay,
because this is compensation or talking.
sorry, go ahead now.
Go ahead.
That's okay. So what we're looking at here is the accounting of the entire package. and you saw what we started with in 2020, the beginning of 2024, and then we remodeled this when we learned that the salary had increased from 420 to 450. So we wanted to make sure that all of this was calibrated with those adjustments. So you can see that the potential total cash here is 540. That ties back to what we were just saying a moment ago. You can see here in red the enhancement to adjust for health insurance family coverage from what it was to what it is. You can also, I'm going to skip over the 77,000 for a moment. You can see that you added an auto allowance and $100 a month mobile phone reimbursement. This value is, it is a cost summary, but for this health system, what you're implementing here doesn't really cost you anything. You are taking money, it is growing through its use, it is paying a benefit, and then you receive all of that income back. But from our perspective, we can't just leave it out of the calculation because it doesn't cost you anything. So we are taking the value that you would be funding at the top end of the analysis, which I'm going to show you, the top end of which is an average, and we are dividing that by life expectancy at the end of the retention period. And that comes up with $77,000. So that is a proxy for a theoretical cost. But again, this plan doesn't cost you anything. The reason I mention all of these numbers is because when you look at competitive comparisons for management personnel in healthcare, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average benefit cost as a percentage is 29.8. With all of these adjustments, you're at 21.8. So you look at this and you say, are we providing a competitive benefits package? In many ways you are. With these enhancements, you are making considerable progress towards a more competitive package. Still some room in certain areas, either for Renee or downstream, but this is squarely below average in terms of cost and provides benefits that are meaningful to your president and CEO at this time.
Got a quick question, if
Yes.
possible. Looking at the retention incentive, it's in red. That is not factored into the bottom line on the right-hand column?
It is.
It is.
This number,
So
it is.
So the 77,000 is what you're saying, the 77,000, the 18 that I think we added, and the mobile home reimbursement, or mobile phone reimbursement. I don't think you want to be in a mobile home.
Especially.
Those are all added with the retention incentive.
That is correct. That's why we get to 150 here instead of 28,000.
Okay, so the last question I have, my understanding, your proposal is like for 500,000 a year, not 77,000.
Right. So this is a theoretical cost relative to the benefit for Renee. Because again, your organization, while you are investing in something to provide a benefit, it is being invested in such a way that it remains with the organization and is repaid. So while you are spending money to provide the benefit itself is not costing the health system anything.
It's just the cost of money, you're saying?
Essentially, that is the theoretical cost for the benefit based on Renee's age when she reaches 10 years of service divided by her life expectancy. But it doesn't cost you anything. That is correct.
Except that whatever we put in, and if we continue to use the SERP for the next executive, that money still is tied up. Whatever we put in is basically tied up in perpetuity, correct?
It is tied up for a specific period of time, and Ryan can speak to this more as we get into the design. It is tied up for a period of time. Then once that period of time elapses, you as an organization have a choice as to what you do with that money. Many organizations will choose to take those funds and recycle them for the next SERP benefit.
Well, that's
But-
what I'm saying. If we
but you
choose to
don't need to.
recycle, that money, whatever we put in, and if we recycle, this is our investment, whatever we put in. It's not going to come back if we keep recycling, correct?
If you keep using those funds to support SERPs for future CEOs, that is how you're using those assets. I would still say it's coming back to the organization, and then you're making a choice to deploy it in this manner, as opposed to an expense where you would say, okay, CEO, we're going to give you so much money at the end of 5 years. You write them a check. They take that money. They're gone. You never see that again. So I'm drawing a distinction between an approach where you get your money back and can redeploy it for future purposes versus an expense out the door.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, I had those questions, but I think it might have been a couple other people too, but
I'd like to point out item number 9. When you're looking at benefits and prerequisites, you're looking at 5.29% now. If you look at the market, anywhere in this region, that's incredibly low and no one would be attracted to that.
right.
So 21.81% seems less than reasonable in my view, based on that. I know from my experience, it's usually about 30%.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so if we drill down on the retention a bit more, we didn't just come up with this number from the top of our heads. We went through a very deliberate analysis to understand what is market norms and what are you doing today. So for CEOs in healthcare today, where an organization is looking to design a retention plan, they will often target what's called a replacement ratio based on years of service. So if I'm a CEO and I've worked at an organization for 20 years, it is not uncommon for me to have a targeted retirement benefit equal to 60% of 5-year final average salary. So that says I'm getting credit per year of service, 3% per year of service. So if I worked 1 year, it'd be 3% of 5-year final average pay. If I worked 10 years, it'd be 30% of 5-year final average pay, and so forth and so on. So it runs from a spectrum. The average is about 3%. So what do? We start with understanding what you do today. When we looked at this analysis initially, you had a qualified retirement plan that covered 4% of covered compensation. This is offered to all employees on the same basis. And when I say covered compensation, the IRS limits how much compensation can be counted towards a qualified retirement plan. So if your qualified retirement plan was to give someone 10% of salary, and David, you make $350,000 a year, and Kevin makes $500,000 a year, you're both only going to get $35,000 a year because the government says anything over a certain amount does not count. So for many CEOs, salaries are above that 350, they are immediately losing out on retirement income because of those federal limitations. In addition to that, you have Social Security, which is partially funded by the employee and partially funded by the employer. Our analysis is focused on employer dollars only to understand what would be competitive and appropriate for the employer to provide based on the years of service that Renee has given to the organization from the day that she started as CEO to someday into the future. In this case, we're looking at 10 years. In terms of our analysis, we assumed that all of your plans remain in force. We assumed a 3% salary scale going forward. We assumed Social Security benefits to age 67 and then prorated. and we assumed compound investment return of 6%. Once we've put that all together, this is the analysis that it shows. And I'm showing you 3 columns of data here. The first is where you are today at the very low end of the spectrum. I said most CEOs get 2.5 to 3%. Most executives where a SERP exists get between 2 and 2.5%. And so if we just look at current state for a moment, at the very low end of the range, you can see that based on the 2025 salary, the 5-year final average would be 364. 8% of 364,000 is $29,800 a year. From that number, we would deduct everything that you were doing at the time. So you had a qualified retirement plan and you had a portion of Social Security based on Renee's years of service to Snoqualmie. We're not looking at prior employers. We're not looking at anything else in the future. So if you were looking to provide 2% per year of service or 8% overall, you're currently providing 0.2% per year of service or 1.7% overall. So
Question. Sorry. Why is the present value versus looking at 9, A and B?
Yep.
Pre-tax, post-tax, why is there a 40% tax?
I just assumed a 40% tax to show a post-tax value. But here, what we're talking about is we're talking about funding pre-tax values. So those post-tax numbers are irrelevant, but I'm more than happy to adjust the tax rate to whatever you feel would be more appropriate as a group.
I think if you're at 500K, you're probably around 32%, maybe, I don't know, at most.
Well, so on a pre-tax basis, before you have to worry about any of that, the shortfall to fund this difference is $500,000. Now, if you look at a more competitive framing, which looks at 10 years of service, 5 years from the day she got here, well, almost 6 now, and 4 or 5 years ahead of us, what does that look like? So at the low end of the CEO spectrum, remember I said 3% is an average, so 2.5 is below average. Here you see that the 5-year final average salary goes up because we've got 5 more years of service. The benefit target goes up because now we're looking at a higher benefit for a longer period of time. These middle benefits go up as well because we've got 5 more years of service. So here the replacement ratio is 3.5% compared to 25, or 0.4% of 1% compared to 2.5.
So again, I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but these figures seemed a little skewed and misrepresented the bottom line in the post-tax. There's a lot more money. There's a lot more money than what this graph says. Should be.
No, the post-tax line is irrelevant because we're talking about pre-tax numbers. And this
I understand that, but you want to get to the bottom line, and the bottom line, you want to look at a comparison of what the actual money in the hands of the recipient is, not what it might be before taxes. And
No, actually, most organizations first look at this on a pre-tax basis because the tax rates that will exist whenever this money starts being paid could be dramatically different. So you want to look at what your pre-tax numbers are when you fund this plan to ensure that it is reasonable before you start dealing with differing tax rates and timing. And so what you see in this middle column is to provide this $100,000 would cost you $2.1 million. And that's looking at that whole 10-year time horizon. If you go up to 3% per year of service, the average, nothing between these two columns changes until you get to the shortfall And obviously, if you're looking to fund a higher shortfall, it's going to cost more to fund that higher shortfall.
If I may, Dave, Alex,
Yes, please.
the reason, the way I would interpret the statement that we focus on pre-tax is because we control the pre-tax. Post-tax is all based on AGI and what happens when she files her taxes and her expenses, et cetera, and all of that sort of thing. We have no control of it, nor do we have any control over what the tax rate is as set by the IRS going forward. Presumptively, it's probably going to increase and not decrease. So the only thing that we can focus on with a degree of clarity is pre-tax.
So then why even put the post-tax in
Just,
line on it?
Alex,
That's what I was trying to say.
Understood.
I think it's kind of misrepresents the.
You can leave it out, actually, because it might draw confusion. Yeah, but
Happy to delete it.
you use it in there for the Alex, you use it in there to try and explain probably what the executive, if you will, might be reflective of what they actually get.
Could be 10% versus 40.
Be exactly correct.
So
Yeah.
why don't you put that
But the
figure?
only thing we control is pre-tax. So,
And
thank
so
you.
using those figures on the far right-hand side, based on the average 3% per year of service, the rest of this plan has been built around that figure. But what we're looking at here is then a salary that's within a competitive range with a benefits package that is below the average writ large and a retirement benefit that is right in line with the average of what we see for CEOs.
I have a supportive comment to make, and that's that all these numbers are fantastic, but I'm a simple guy. What I know from government service is it's about 3% per year that you accumulate for your retirement. So what you're presenting, in my view, is very consistent with a government rate.
Perspective.
I love the numbers, but, well, not really, but but I love the spirit.
Are you at a point where we can slide into, Alex, are we at a point where we can slide into Brian, or you still have more information here, don't you?
No, that covers how we got to where Ryan can pick up next.
As the solution.
Question.
Yes.
The history of we've had, hopefully that doesn't happen again. What happens if we belly up, we went on bankruptcy? What happens to the investments there?
Ryan can address that as he begins to
Okay.
walk through
Are you
this.
talking about the institution, meaning the hospital district, or the solution that Brian's presenting? Which are you referring to?
More in general.
Yes.
Yeah, that benefits
Probably
Brighton
does.
as well.
All right, Ryan, it's all you.
Yeah, so to address that question, at least in regards to the executive benefits plan, there are two parts to what we're proposing. There is the benefit to Renee as the participant, and then there's the funding mechanism that the institution is choosing to use to cover that cost. So in a scenario where the hospital district it goes bankrupt or doesn't exist or something along those lines, it's going to depend first and foremost on the legal agreement. So what happens in that scenario? But typically, a participant becomes fully vested to protect their interest in that scenario. So their benefit would be protected and not subject to institutional creditors. The institution's investment is going to be treated just like any other institutional investment. So that would go to the creditors of the institution for going bankrupt. But again, that would have no material impact to the participant's benefit based on the vesting schedule that's agreed upon. Alexander, were you going to share your screen, or did you want me to?
I'm happy to. I just brought it down in case it was easier to have that conversation. I can bring it back up.
Oh, no, I just wanted to address that question while it was relevant. But if you can pull your screen back
Brian,
up.
Hey, Ryan.
Yep.
If I may, to end this question with regards to bankruptcy, I think there's two separate entities. One is the district itself, and the other one is the solution that's being presented, or was presented a year ago. With regards to the district, David and I have gone to great lengths, as well as in combination, in concert with the executive team sitting before you, to provide a solution that is you know, one thing for certain in life is change, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, can anything happen? Of course, anything can happen. But I think you're well aware of the financial stability that currently exists within the district that we're operating as a board and our executive team that are running the operations. So we have, David and I and the whole executive team have gone to great lengths over the last several years, decades almost, to assure the stability. We've never been in a better position than we're in right now. I feel very confident, I think David does as well, with making that statement from a financial perspective, both in net operating, gross operating, net operating, and the projection and the glide slope, including the investments that we've made with the North Bend Clinic and the hub, and what that proposed projections are for the solvency of the district, only getting stronger, 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 based on information we have today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
Understand.
we all know it can change.
Right, so that's my
But
next
it's very
question.
unlikely.
My
The
next
district is
question,
terrible.
with,
That's what
yeah, we have this, we have fluctuated values sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Investment, and we have a lot of droughts. And historically, we've went back almost close to 4 times.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that up and down, you know,
Right.
and we go on drought, we go on whatever fluctuated numbers we're
Sure.
looking at. Currently, yes, we're looking good. What in the next, we don't know what the market, we're basing all of this at the current market. So did you take into consideration the fluctuation, the drought, whatever you call it? So,
Absolutely.
because we don't want to be in that position again. You understand?
Absolutely. And thank you.
Okay.
And thank you. We have an Washington State audit, results for 2025 coming in about, what, 2 months, 3 months? We'll have that. And again, just like we govern our own homes, we run our homes as a business, if you will. We have money in, money out. And so based on everything that we know, the way we run our homes and the way we run our district, we're in a very
Okay.
good position based on information. Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Very important, yeah.
But it's very unlikely based on facts.
Do a quick time
Right.
check for the board.
Go ahead.
Yes.
The board had requested an hour, we're at 2:00. Do we have hard stops at 2:15?
I do. I have to go to Chief Kano and pick up my son.
To just,
2:35 to 2 PM, 35 minutes, right?
Yes,
Plus,
2:36 is when the bell rings.
plus,
You remember.
plus or minus.
You remember.
That's my-
Yeah, and you can tell me, it's about 15 minutes from here?
It's about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
Ryan, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, anytime.
Are there any other questions for Ryan or Alex, anybody?
is anybody, you guys have, most of you have this information prior. Do you want Ryan to go through the tool? Or are you good without? Good.
I wish we could use this time for discussion, if there's any discussion.
Yeah.
Ryan, hang on in case there's questions specifically, we'll tap you or Alex, but otherwise the.
Yeah, of course.
board can have some time for discussion.
Well done, gentlemen.
In meetings.
Yeah.
The meetings that if I may, the meetings that I've had, again, with Ryan and Alex and Dave and I and the finance committee, I like to simplify things. And if you look at the basis of this discussion, I think I'll make the statement because I think it's relevant, incumbent upon the 5 of us to seek a solution, whatever that might be. This information that I'm holding in my hand was presented a year ago to us. I think it's a sad state of affairs that it's taken this long. I'll just make this statement. I'm not blaming anyone, anyone, I'm not. But I think that we need to, my dear friend Mark likes to phrase it a little differently, fish or cut bait. A little different than I grew up saying it, but I think that
Okay.
I look at, it's money that we already have. We're repositioning it, going from 4% to 10%. If you have questions about that, Ryan can clarify any questions about that. The money comes back to the district for reallocation, either back in our coffers, or it might be repositioned for another executive down the road. I've always told Renee that I hope she stays a little bit longer, because I'd like to see the hub a little more seasoned person.
And beyond.
So the money comes back to us. It provides a void that currently exists with regards to life insurance, which is critically important as a benefit package for Renee. And equally important for being on behalf of the district, and I'll be selfish for the district for just a moment. If any one of us could walk across that parking lot to get hit by a truck, period, on the way out of here. If something happens to Renee, we have to replace her. That comes at an cost. One of the things that you do with life insurance, and Ryan, you know where I'm headed with this, is some form of a collateral assignment to the death benefit. Okay, I would like to see that in some form addressed and come up with a solution in the context of that, because that is a real peril that does exist. When you, I am myself effective today, sold my business to my daughter. 8 years ago, I put a life insurance policy on her while she was younger, and it cost me less money. Something happens to her, heaven forbid, my own daughter. I will have the funds to weather the storm to find a new buyer for my business. And so in that same vein, we have a need for protecting the district with regards to should something heavenly happen to Renee. So that is one thing that I would say. So we got money in, we got money out. At 10 years, Renee is vested for years of service, but she can't touch it until year 10. So we're protected. She can't walk away ahead of time and get any of that. So we've got our bases covered, and at the risk of being way oversimplified, this is a no-brainer. And I so respect the fact that we're all doing our due diligence. And I mean, we're just full of questions, but it's really a new concept. You haven't seen it before.
This is not too simplified for me, for the reason I have never seen this. It was simplified for the finance committee. And I
Really?
You had this.
But we never had a
It wasn't
discussion.
simplified.
I know, it's not simplified, but they use the word, yeah, no brainer. When you have the information a long time ago, that's okay, you can study it. But sometimes I don't have this information. It takes me 2-3 days to get it, and it takes a while, there's a lot of reading to do. If I had to dissect it, okay? Well, we also never had the opportunity to present this in our open public meeting or if it would take longer to review it, then we could have done this work study or workshop like we're doing now, where we have this opportunity to interact and ask. But, this has never been really brought up, at least that I remember. I asked about the argument for a long time, and you thought I was reading that. I wasn't reading it. You were there. I didn't have an argument in front of me.
I agree with you. It's very complex. It was complex to me
No
when it first
brainer.
presented, and it
You
took
are
a
in
couple
that
of meetings
business.
for me to. This is not my area of expertise, and so I can understand exactly how you're feeling about it.
Yeah.
So,
And we've had the benefit of multiple meetings.
yeah.
And professionally, it's something that I do. As
Yeah,
well.
you are
So-
the financial, you do
Yeah.
financial
But that being
investment.
said-
I understand.
You have a timeline slide out in front of you there, Kevin. I think there's been lots of opportunities to do this.
There has,
Now
but I don't
we're
want-
here, so
Yeah,
now we're here.
It doesn't-
One of the things
What
that
do we
we
need
always,
to move on?
well, I talked to Kevin about the scheduling. Never mind, we won't go there. Go ahead.
So
Mr. Carter, I'm glad that you made your comment. And I'd like to propose that from this day forward, we no longer talk about what happened 2 years ago or place fault on who got what when. I think it's time to move forward and stop that kind of topic and that kind of language, please. Thank you.
I'd like to amend that because we talked about fixing this in 2024. And so I think that we do owe the executive team the courtesy and respect of like getting this to a solution. So from this point forward, what do
Thank
we,
you for,
what do we need to know or do? How
thank you
about
for
that?
making my comment better.
Thank
I
you, sir.
appreciate that because I think now we've got the information. Yes, there've been contentions in the past. We have the information before us right now, and now we need to move forward and make a decision. Let's finish now. Stop cutting bait.
It is great, but history repeats itself, so sometimes it has to be discussed.
Well, we
Not
can't,
make any decisions today.
History
What's that?
repeats
can't
itself,
make any decisions today.
right?
special meeting.
It's a special meeting and it is what was on the agenda. It's the only thing you can make a decision about.
Well, we can make a decision.
We could.
It was.
Good for the one thing, because that's what's on the agenda.
Okay. Well, I do have some issues with the way, this is set up. And, I'm concerned, about the precedent, for allowing a retroactive 5 years past, compensation. And there is, SERPs cannot give compensation. They're supposed to be for pension benefits, right? They're supposed to be retention benefits. And there's an appearance, by allowing the 5 years retroactive to, implicate that type of an appearance. Also, a precedent, does that mean everybody that's been here for 7 years or 8 years, do we go back 7 or 8 years when we want to compensate them on pension? That's another problem.
The answer to that question, once this tool is implemented, and the executive team will be charged with implementing this for any positions or other executives. So that would be decisions that we would have to make in the best interest of the district.
And I appreciate the comment. We've discussed it at length. We've had resolutions, I think going back to 22, that we were going to address and deal with this in some fashion. We certainly have it.
This, you mean the resolution for this? It was,
Not this plan,
okay.
but that we were going to address the solution, and we just simply haven't done it.
Yeah.
In fact, last year we did, we were gonna have it done by the end of December of 2025 in a resolution. And we're-
Yeah, I saw the resolution.
Ryan or Alex?
I want to raise something about contracts.
Well, no, we're not gonna talk about contracts. We're talking about service
Yeah.
today, okay?
A quick question for either of you. Commissioner Spikers have raised a concern about retroactive pay. Could either of you address that, please?
I would start by saying that, in my experience, it is very common for an organization to recognize the years of service of the CEO. And I'm drawing a distinction between the CEO and even other members of the C-suite as compared to, let's say, providers. So I'll give you an example, and this is a real life example. CEO had worked for an organization for 15 years. And in the last 2-3 years of their career, they hired us to look at their plans, just like you have. And we put the analysis together and we looked at all what would be 15 years of service. And the board ultimately adopted the 15 years of service because they didn't feel like it was appropriate to only acknowledge the 3 years going forward because they had not looked at this sooner. They wanted to acknowledge all the years of service that the CEO provided. Now, that CEO had been there before they were CEO in a different role. That credit did not get counted because, again, that's not what's most typical in the market. And so from an IRS point of view, although that is less bearing on our conversation today, it is common to look at these kinds of plans, which are intended to supplement retirement when they are below market, used, David, as you said, for retention, but it's certainly broader than that. It's very common to look at all the years of service as CEO. In this case, we would be looking at 5 or 6 at this point.
So you're still looking historical facts,
That's
So when you're
correct.
saying
We
you
are
cannot
looking at the
look
day
into
she
that.
started, right?
right? So we
Yeah,
cannot
well-
stop from not looking back. And also, you're talking about times in service prior to the completed time of the service. Is that what you're saying here? Like, let's say, you work for 3 years and then 15 years you stay, you go back and look at how much do we have to pay her for if we did have a plan in place. So we're going back, we're subtracting, we're retroacting all of that. Is that my understanding?
There's no pay that he's proposing. It's a vesting schedule he's proposing.
Correct. So if we have that investment schedule and the plan, we go back and revisit, and then you get that back, the retroactive comes from that particular, is that how it works?
But it's not her.
I understand,
Like to go back to my statement,
but that wasn't, yeah,
this is consistent with a government service of 20 years. 3% per year. So if we were to approve this as it is now, I think that would be consistent with a government return.
It really is. normal.
Yeah.
It's common.
so,
Normal may be the wrong word, but it's commonly done.
It's practice,
Practice. I would,
being honest.
Mr. President, I would be in a position to make a motion and see where it goes. And that motion would be, I don't have any problem with this plan. And I would support it with provision that there is an issue addressed relative to the death benefit on the life insurance contract that would be naming the details to be worked out with Ryan, myself and Dave and the board, if you will, but at least Ryan and David and myself, with regards to the death benefit designations at a certain level that could in fact actually be adjusted as you work through the remaining 5 years, the remaining terms of service, years of service. However, that is to work out. So that death benefit issue would be resolved and come to a conclusion. Other than that, I don't have any problem with this plan at all for the reasons that have been discussed at length. That would be my motion.
Do I hear a second?
How would you sum that up in one sentence?
I have no problem with the plan that has been presented by Acumen with the provision of the death benefit being amended to protect the district in the event that something should happen to Renee.
I'm gonna help Jennifer for the minutes, so it's your motion, so I'm just gonna help summarize. So you're making a motion to approve the plan as presented by Acumen and Perlmeyer with the provision that we visit the assignment of the death benefit, at least partially to SVH. So we'd have to work through Ryan. I'm not sure what that looks like, so we would have to dig in, but you would like to investigate that.
That's correct.
question, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Is Ryan going to be the fiscal agent for our district? Is that what we're here also?
I think
We want to know who's monitoring all of this.
Do we not need a second before
We
discussion?
need a second. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, second.
I'll second.
so we're
Okay, I asked,
not voting, are we? We're just
we
discussing.
are, at this point, we're gonna have some further discussion. I've got a question. When does the first date of vesting take place under this plan?
The way that we designed the plan was we were gonna provide, well, again, a year has passed, but when we started this process, Renee had 5 years of service and we were looking at 5 years ahead of us. So we were gonna vest her in 50% of the benefit. Nothing is gonna be paid to her. It just means that it's her benefit whenever she leaves. And then she would vest in 10% each year thereafter, so that after 10 years of service, she would be 100% vested, essentially giving her 10% per year of CEO service.
I don't know if we lost them.
Yeah, give them a minute. I think they'll come back.
Okay, great.
Good.
One second. Alex, try to unmute yourself again.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes,
Got
There we
you.
go.
We had a little technology blip there. Thank you.
No problem. I thought David was starting to say something, but then it froze.
Okay, so if Renee says, you know what, gives notice, January, whatever, 2027, I'm leaving.
Mhm.
I want 60% because I'm already vested in 50%. Now I get 10% more. Is that correct? She would be able to get 60% of the total at that point?
Yeah, you would set a vesting date at which she earns another 10%. So if you said that as of 1/1/2027, she was going to be, let's say 2025 was 5 years, 26, 6 years, 27, 7 years. So let's say that 1/1/2027, she became another 10% vested, bringing it to 70%. If she decided that she was going to leave on Thanksgiving of 2026 and she didn't reach that next vesting date, she would leave 60% vested. If she decided to leave on January 15th of 2027, she would leave 70% vested.
Just like the government,
Okay, so
that I understand.
So the flip side, and this is me playing devil's advocate here, so I'm not trying to stir anything up, but the flip side of what you're saying to that is it's tough that Renee wasn't able to get this for 5 years previously, and great, we got a great deal and we're fine with that. If she left.
Agreed. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I had some alternate types of things. I thought because of this setting precedent, I didn't like that. I also don't like the vesting schedule. She can leave anytime she wants within the next 5 years and take whatever she
Vesting
wants.
schedule can be adjusted.
So I'm just saying, those are the two things I have a problem with. And although, and looking at the other alternative here, I would like to see some other types of performance bonuses, just her, related to this MOB that is coming up. And that's what I'm concerned about. I would rather see, 50K here, 50K there, based on certain things that she does, and set those up rather than setting precedent and having a vesting schedule. There's no way I would even think about a vesting schedule that she could be
Before the 10 years.
Yeah, no way, no way.
What if we did it like quarterly? Would
No.
that be better? No?
A
No,
point for clarification, are you indicating that this product would not be available to other executives or to physicians because it will become difficult to hire physicians potentially in the future? And executives.
The commissioners approve this and then the executive team will just determine what's best for the district for other positions, whether it be physicians or.
I think one thing you need to consider, the board needs to consider with that proposal would be that you're creating an additional expense to the district to do it that way too, versus this is a balance sheet product.
yeah, I understand that. Well, that's why, but I still have an issue with the vesting schedule
Let me,
and precedent.
yeah, exactly.
And so,
Alex, and Brian, what about the vesting? Because if we held that for the 10th year before she could actually get any of it, that could be adjusted, amended from what we currently have, could it not?
Except for my 2 cents on this, which is if I was going
Understood.
to implement this for any other executive, your recruitment, you start to make good money on your investments with physicians and executives after 5 years. At 5 years, they're running the place, they're making you money, they're doing a really good job, their strategic plan is going. So I want to retain somebody for 5 years. And then to retain somebody for a full 10 years and say you get nothing unless you've been here for 10 years in this market is absolutely insane. And so it would absolutely work with 0 effectiveness as a retention program for me. I would say you didn't value the work I gave you. But if I was gonna recruit a physician, they cost $500,000 to $1 million a year for surgeons right now. Keeping them here for 5 years would be amazing. So I'd say you get nothing if you leave in the first 5 years, because that's a carrot to get them to the 5 years. And then to keep them longer, if you gave them a year at a time, be like, oh, it's just 1 more year, sweet. And then pretty soon you're like, dang, it's been 10 years, or you get
Well,
8 years.
we all take risks, and right now the risk is greater because we are not a 5-star hospital.
Oh, I
We are
bet to
25 there.
Absolutely.
We have.
With all due respect.
Consulting.
No, I'm looking at the right now, current, we're talking about current and the market and all of that. So, the risk is greater than I can see right now. If we were to, I don't think that we should be voting until we do further, dig deeper into it. And, I don't know how many of our physicians have stayed there for 5 years with no.
But you actually.
We have a lot in the past, but they stay regardless of what they're paying. They have good benefits.
And I got I don't know that moment, but is there anything that would get you to yes?
Well, if I had gotten this information way back and I was not put in a limbo where I have to always request, and sometimes my packet is incomplete, that makes it difficult for me to just say yes, because I'm the kind of person that I like to dig deeper. You may not want to do it, you probably could skim through this and you're.
Every we have a second when we had discussion.
So anyway, that's the reason. Thank you.
Commissioner Bowers, you've been silent. Heard a couple of different issues. You've heard a pitch from everybody. Do you have any discussion?
I'm the newest guy on the block, sure, but I'm not wet behind the ears.
No.
I like the product. I would propose that we vote on the product with the ability to amend it down the road to meet the board's desires, but in a positive respect.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
What if I was to amend my motion?
Yeah.
To address the issue I brought up with regards to collateral assignment, right, for the district if something happens to Renee. But then also to visit the vesting schedule, with provision to address the vesting schedule to a point of satisfaction for the majority of the board.
Can we be more specific?
You might as well just defer it because it's not
Yeah.
gonna accomplish anything today.
I like the product. I really do. I like
do
the
too.
spirit of the product. I like the numbers of the product. I think there's still some tangible things to work through, and the thing that I implore us to please stop the language that's personal. I
It's a
really
good-
detest it, to be honest. I know this is a public meeting. The public does not want us here calling each other names and talking about what we did or didn't do in the past. It's time to fish and stop cutting bait.
It's a beautiful product.
It is.
We've got the money
And we
for
voted on the
it. We still
product.
owe a lot of money
Yeah.
to our district. I mean, if we were Bill Gates, you know, he would just give it up.
We're
Give it
just
away.
willing to vote on the product
Yeah,
with the object to positively amend it in the future. In the very near future, like April.
But how are you going to amend it?
April,
We need to
yeah.
identify that.
well, I'll go for
I'm here
April.
with another meeting.
Could we move forward with that?
We would have to draft legal documents with the team and the Acumen team. And if is that what you're saying? Like, get everything ready and then we decide, but then they had to draft all the documents
I'm prepared to vote for the product today,
as presented.
right now,
Okay, got it. Then we can.
with the ability to amend it. Favorable.
Oh, well, it's kind of like a wishy-washy.
Then I say don't vote.
Sorry,
Can
Ryan.
we have the same exact meeting tomorrow, next week rather?
Why not?
Can I have a
Same
quick
time.
question for you, Ryan? If they vote to
Mhm.
approve this today, we draft the documents, can the board come back and amend it at a later date?
If the documents are drafted but not executed,
No,
Then both-
let's say we execute. Could they make an amendment?
Well, once you
oh,
can adjust the death benefit on a life contract, but what about the other stuff, Brian?
yeah. So once the legal agreement is executed by both parties, we can 100% amend it, but we need both parties to agree to it. And that's to protect both parties' interests. So no one party can't unilaterally make a change to the executed agreement without the other party's consent.
Yeah, because there's no meeting of the mind right now.
Could we throw into that amendment that we
There is,
finish and
there is.
vote yea or nay by the end of April? If we accept this product.
We do it sooner. We stop trying.
I'm just saying.
Like, let's just come back and have the same exact meeting next week.
At the end of February
Well, I said 5
or something.
I'm with that, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting with the, we have to bring this back up in February meeting. So